It's quiet again. Not the kind of quiet that feels calm, the kind that feels familiar. You're sitting there, maybe with your phone in your hand, maybe just staring at nothing in particular. The day is over, and there's this small thought in the background. Nothing intense, nothing urgent, just nothing really changed today. You don't react to it. You don't argue with it. You don't even feel surprised. Just a slight drop in your chest, a small recognition, then it fades, and you move on because nothing feels wrong enough to fix. That's the part that matters. The problem isn't loud. That's why it's been able to stay. You've been told that change should feel right, that when you're ready, things will click, that once you find the right mindset, the right system, the right moment, it will feel natural. But look at your life honestly. What actually feels natural? Delaying things. Checking your phone without thinking. Saying, I'll do it later, like it means something. Starting things with energy and slowly drifting away from them. That feels natural because that's what you practiced. You didn't wake up one day and choose this. You built it, slowly, without noticing. At first it was small. You skipped something once. You delayed something once. You told yourself it didn't matter, and it didn't feel like a big deal. So you did it again, and again, and again, until it stopped feeling like a decision and started feeling like who you are. That's the part most people never really look at. They think they're stuck. They think something is wrong with them. They think they lack motivation. But what's actually happening is simpler. You're just repeating. You've trained yourself to live this way, and now it feels normal. Not because it's right, because it's familiar. There was a time when this would have bothered you more. You remember it. You'd catch yourself faster. You'd feel that tension more clearly. You'd want to correct it. You'd expect more from yourself. Now, you notice it. And keep going. That's the shift. Not when things started going wrong. When they stopped feeling wrong. You've learned how to explain things to yourself in a way that keeps you comfortable. I've just been busy. I'll get serious next week. I just need to reset. I'll start fresh tomorrow. And none of those sound like lies. That's why they work. They're close enough to the truth to keep you from questioning them. But underneath all of that, there's something else, something quieter, something you don't say out loud. You know what you're avoiding. You know what you keep delaying. You know what hasn't changed. You just don't stay there long enough to face it, because facing it would require something. Not motivation, not a new plan. Honesty. And honesty removes comfort. You make promises to yourself in private. Moments where you feel clear, focused, certain. I'm going to fix this. I'm done doing this. This time is different. And in that moment, it feels real. Because the version of you saying it is real. But that version of you doesn't make the decisions. The version of you that shows up later does. The one that's tired, distracted, alone. The one that has to choose in real time. And when that moment comes, it's not dramatic. It's not intense. It's small, almost invisible. Do it or delay it. And most of the time, you delay it, not because you don't care, because it feels easier, because it feels natural, because it's what you've been doing. That's the truth. Change doesn't feel natural. Repetition does, comfort does, avoidance does, because that's what you've been practicing. And your mind doesn't care about your goals. It cares about what's familiar, what's safe, what requires the least disruption. So when you try to change, it feels off, it feels forced, it feels unnatural, not because it's wrong, because it's new. You've been trying to wait until it feels right, but it won't. Because feeling right is just your brain recognizing something it already knows. And change isn't something you already know. You don't change when you feel inspired. You change when you stop lying to yourself about what you're actually doing, about what you're avoiding, about the patterns you've been repeating, about the version of you that's been quietly running things. Because right now, you're not inconsistent. You're extremely consistent, just not in the direction you want. You're consistent at delaying, consistent at negotiating, consistent at starting and not finishing, consistent at saying later, consistent at letting things slide, and consistency always wins, even when it's working against you. That's why change feels so hard. It's not because it's complicated, it's because it goes against everything you've been reinforcing. So the shift isn't intensity, it's clarity. You don't need to push harder, you need to see clearer. Start with this, make fewer promises. Right now you say too much. You plan too much. You expect too much from a version of you that hasn't proven anything yet. Say less, but mean it. Because every time you say something and don't follow through, you weaken something, not your results, your trust. And once that trust is weak, everything feels harder. So reduce it, lower the noise, focus on what actually matters, then track what actually happens. Not what you intended, not what you planned, not what you thought about doing. What did you actually do? Because intention feels productive, but it doesn't change anything. Action does, and repetition locks it in. Then reduce emotional decision-making. Right now you decide based on how you feel. If you feel good, you move. If you don't, you delay. That's unstable, because feelings change constantly. So decide earlier, when you're clear, and follow through later, when you're not. Because the moment you wait to decide inside discomfort, you've already lost. Then build quiet consistency, not big changes, not dramatic shifts, not all or nothing resets. Small actions repeated daily without needing to feel ready. Because readiness is not a real state, it's a feeling, and feelings don't build identity. Repetition does. And finally, pay attention to what you're allowing, because what you allow becomes what you repeat, and what you repeat becomes who you are. So slow down for a second, be honest. Where are you still negotiating with yourself? Not once, repeatedly. Where do you say, I'll do it later? Knowing exactly how that ends. What have you been calling trying that is actually avoiding? And if you were fully honest, what would you have to admit? Not to anyone else, to yourself. Because that's where this changes. Not in a new plan, not in a new version of you. In your honesty, you don't need to become someone else. You don't need to reinvent yourself. You don't need a dramatic shift. You need to stop pretending. Stop pretending you don't see the pattern. Stop pretending later is real. Stop pretending you're trying when you're repeating. Because once you see it clearly, you can't go back. And from that point, change still won't feel natural, but it will feel honest. And that's enough, because real change doesn't come from feeling ready. It comes from no longer being willing to lie to yourself. You don't need to become someone new. You need to stop pretending to be someone you're not.